Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the daily newspaper analysis, which is part of our Roznama. Now, today, the first piece of news that we will be looking into is a multiple number of cascading events that have taken place due to the Iran-Israel war that is ongoing. Three things that you have to keep in mind is, one thing that this particular news piece actually says is that Iran has undertaken attacks on ships belonging to other countries that were crossing the Strait of Hormuz. So we have a Thai ship, a Bangkok-based ship, which was attacked by Iranian soldiers, and it was believed that 3 crew members have lost their lives in this. So now, not only is Iran attacking other countries left, right, center, but was also undertaking attacks on commercial ships, on merchant ships. Previously, the attacks were mostly limited to armed ships, armed forces. Now it is being undertaken on commercial ships as well and merchant ships as well. India has denounced this entire attack as being very, very or highly deplorable in nature. All right. Then, because the Strait of Hormuz is a very critical point in the entire global energy supply chain, and in this particular Strait of Hormuz, maximum stakes are held by Iran. There are around 8 islands, 7 of which are controlled by Iran. So Iran, as of now, has blocked the entire Strait of Hormuz, which is affecting the global energy supply chains, specifically in terms of liquefied natural gas, piped natural gas, and other variants of natural gas, including the compressed natural gas. Okay. Now, because of this blocking of the strait, in terms of import and export of natural gases, it is also leading to major crunches in natural gas supply everywhere in the world, also in India. So you must be seeing that a lot of shortages of natural gas is being felt and faced everywhere. So the International Energy Agency, the sole authority which is responsible to ensure equitable distribution of energy resources globally, this particular agency, it has asked member countries who actually, and how many members are there in the International Energy Agency? There are 32 members and 13 associate partners. This particular agency was established in 1974. Why was it established in 1974? Because of the oil crisis that occurred in 1973. So in 1973, also the global oil supply and energy supply order was disrupted because of a major war that took place in 1973. This war is known as the Yom Kippur War, and this Yom Kippur War is considered as the third war between the Arab states and Israel. Mostly, this particular war saw attacks between Israel, Egypt, and Syria. And it was this particular war which celebrated 50 years or commemorated 50 years on the day when Hamas undertook an attack on Israel on 7th of October 2023. So it was, just bringing back into existence a war that took place 50 years back. So in the face of this 1973 war, which also resulted in major energy crisis, an international energy agency was established with its headquarters in Paris. The purpose of this agency is to ensure the supply of oil and other energy resources is not disrupted globally. Okay, so this time, for the first time, the International Energy Agency has called for release of 400 million barrels of oil. Okay, 400 million barrels of oil, which is the largest number or amount of oil release that the International Energy Agency has ever called for. Okay, so this is one thing that you need to keep in mind. Do keep in mind the oil crisis that is happening because the Strait of Hormuz has been blockaded by Iran, and Strait of Hormuz is that one critical choke point which facilitates trade of oil and natural gas resources. All right. So International Atomic Agency, established in 1974 in the aftermath of the 1973 crisis, 32 members, 13 associate partners, and headquartered in Paris. Okay. Then now after the death of the previous Ayatollah, that is Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, in this particular war that is now today entered its 12th day again, a new Ayatollah was elected and chosen, and he is Mojtaba Khamenei. Then there were again news that he was also injured and apparently is dead in the strikes undertaken by Israel and USA. However, the present president's son of Iran, the president is Masoud Pezeshkian, and his son is Yusuf Pezeshkian. Okay, so Yusuf Pezeshkian has issued a statement saying that Mojtaba Khamenei, he has been injured, but he is safe and sound. All right. Then Donald Trump has also issued a statement saying that there is practically nothing left to target in Iran, and the war will naturally very soon come to an end, that they have been very successful in destroying nuclear facilities and also oil reserves, oil storages in Iran. All right, because of this major destruction and disruption of oil storages, Iran is facing one of the most catastrophic events recently, and that is the event of black rain, which we will take up eventually in the editorial lesson. Okay, so because of this, also oil prices are now going to be hit almost $200 billion, $200 a barrel, which has been warned off by Iran. Okay, so Donald Trump initially just a week back had also issued a statement saying that the war can extend up to 4 to 5 weeks, but now he's saying that the war may come to an end very soon, because apparently there is nothing more left to destroy in Iran. Okay. Then Iran has undertaken massive destruction of various US bases across West Asia, and the number being 17 US bases across West Asia in countries like UAE, in countries like Saudi Arabia, Qatar, etc. Okay. So why is Iran undertaking destruction of US bases? Because naturally US in its physical form is much away from Iran. It is all these naval military bases that US has in different countries in the West Asia. It is through these countries that it is attacking Iran. All right. Then our International Energy Agency has announced record oil release amid this war, which is 400 million barrels, which is the largest in any history, okay, in world history. Then also the Prime Minister has called or given a statement that this particular crisis is a reminder for self-reliance and energy growth. Why? Because when we look at India, India is the largest importer of energy resources, and although India is trying to transition from non-renewable to renewable sources of energy, it is going to take some time. So as of now, we still are dependent on burning of fossil fuels to meet our energy requirements, and a large chunk of this fossil fuel we import from West Asia. So if we due to any XYZ reason, we are unable to import reserves of oil and natural gas, so we have natural gas reserves for about 30 days, oil, petroleum reserves for about 10 days, and coal for about 88 days. So we only have a buffer of for coal 88 days, for oil 10 days, and for natural gas 30 days. So in case we are unable to import anything because of this ongoing crisis, we will be left without oil, and without natural gas, and natural gas forms the basis of cooking gases in each and every house. So this has basically shown us, or is basically showing or depicting, that how globalization has has this major negative impact, and how it is making the entire global order very vulnerable to any glitch in global supply chain, as against making the countries more friendly or dependent or mutually dependent on each other. This entire thing has been very beautifully talked about in one of the articles in today's editorial written by Shashi Tharoor. Okay. Then the Thai ship that has been attacked or set ablaze in the Strait of Hormuz by Iran, also the Indian government has issued a statement, Minister of External Affairs has issued a statement that it is absolutely deplorable that they are targeting commercial ships also along with army or naval ships, or along with armed ships. All right, in this particular ship, it was moving through the Strait of Hormuz, and it was set to reach Kandla. Okay, So Kandla is a port that is in Gujarat, and the speciality of the Kandla port is that it is a tidal port in India. Okay, this port is a tidal port. Other things that you have to remember for this is one more important point, that this is a port that was developed in India after we gained independence. And why was the necessity for developing this port? Because one of the major cargo port of India was given to Pakistan because of partition, and that was the Karachi port. So because we lost Karachi port to Pakistan, India had to construct one more port to release certain pressure from the Mumbai port, and therefore the Kandla port was established in Gujarat, and Kandla port is also known as a tidal port. So this is what you have to keep in mind with respect to this. Okay. Then because now initially we did in December, there was a news that in January there was a news that in December Indian Russian oil imports were at their 38th month low. That is, we had started phasing out our oil imports from Russia, and that eventually resulted in excuse me, that eventually resulted in us striking an interim trade deal with USA. But now that the Strait of Hormuz has been choked, has been put a stop at by Iran, so we have to diversify our energy resources, and again we have started bringing in our energy resources from Russia. All right, so it has seen a surge by 50%. So now another piece of news that this year we have the FIFA World Cup, which is set to be hosted by the United States of America. So because Iran and US are at war, so like Bangladesh did for India, that Bangladesh cricket team boycotted the T20 World Cup, Iran also has now boycotted the FIFA World Cup because it will be undertaken in US. Okay. All right. Then last night, if you were watching the news, this speech by Amit Shah was, much publicized in all the news channels last night. And here, he had basically given an entire speech against the motion of removal of the Lok Sabha speaker. And here, the motion for removal of the Lok Sabha speaker, Om Birla, was defeated and it was not taken up. All right. So this particular motion to remove the speaker of the Lok Sabha under Article 1992 was of the Constitution was undertaken because the opposition members, the Congress party, they basically said that the speaker is not functioning as per the duties of his office. One of the most important characteristics of the duty of the office of the speaker is simply that the speaker has to give verdicts, manage the entire house in a non-partisan manner. Non-partisan manner meaning that the speaker cannot take sides of any particular party. All right, but it was seen that the speaker was not letting the opposition members speak, voice their opinions, but the speaker was only permitting the present party in power, that is the BJP members, to voice their opinions in the Lok Sabha. So in yesterday's speech, Amit Shah had actually given a lot of figures and given a lot of speech. Given a lot of data, saying that the Congress had only 99 MPs, still they had been given much more minutes to speak in the Lok Sabha as compared to the BJP members. Okay, so do go through it. It's a good important article. Then the Supreme Court, it was given for the first time yesterday, that on the 11th day before yesterday, that the Supreme Court has allowed passive euthanasia for a man whose name was Harish Rana, 32-year-old boy, who for the past 13 years was in a vegetative state, and the Supreme Court has for the first time permitted that Harish Rana can be given passive euthanasia to end his life. Okay, so there is the euthanasia simply means willful killing somebody purposely because naturally that person is in a vegetative state and basically has a dead brain or something the like. In India, we only permit passive euthanasia where if a person is on life support, the doctors, they remove the life support and then the person eventually dies. As against this, there is a practice of active euthanasia where the doctors, they inject something inject some poison or some other lethal drug in a particular person who is in a state of coma to end their life. So active euthanasia is not permitted in the country. Passive euthanasia is permitted in the country. So for the first time, the Supreme Court on Wednesday permitted withdrawal of artificial life support to Harish Rana, who was in a vegetative state for 13 years. Also urged the center to bring in a comprehensive law to address passive euthanasia. As of now, we do not have any parliamentary law with respect to passive euthanasia. However, it is only the parliament who has been vested with the power, with the right to bring in any law to permit passive euthanasia in the country. Now, the thing about this particular case, the interesting fact about this particular case is that Harish Rana's case was taken to the Supreme Court 2 years back, and 2 years back the Supreme Court had did not permit for passive euthanasia to be undertaken for Harish Rana, because 2 years back he was not on life support. Now he was on life support. So because he was in a life support, and it was naturally too burdensome, too cumbersome for his family members to look after him, in light of such scenarios or such basic reasons, the Supreme Court has finally permitted to undertake passive euthanasia for Harish Rana. Also, this particular verdict aligns with Article 21 of the Constitution. Active euthanasia is not permitted because it takes away any person's right to life, but also Article 21 in this particular case has been interpreted as right to life as well as right to die with dignity. So here they have invoked this, saying that Harish Rana also has the right to life with right to die with dignity. Okay, then here they give you a basic understanding about the difference between active and passive euthanasia. So active euthanasia is simply when the doctors, they inject some lethal medicine, poison, etc. into the patient's body, and the patient eventually loses his life. Whereas passive euthanasia is that patients who are on life support, for example ventilators, oxygen, etc., and yet there is no improvement in their conditions, and the condition is eventually going to deteriorate only. So the removal of this life support is understood as passive euthanasia. Okay, do go through this article, very, very important. The same, another understanding into the same thing, where they said that the right to die with dignity is also part of Article 21, and given recognition to this particular article, the Supreme Court has given a verdict saying that passive euthanasia must be permitted for him. Also, they did do this on compassionate grounds, saying that the parents and his siblings, they are not doing this because they are showing courage, etc. They are doing it because they are allowing him to leave his body or to eventually pass away with dignity. Okay. All right, this is another statement that has been given by the Supreme Court, that you aren't giving up on your son, you're allowing him to live with dignity. Okay. All right. Then right to dignified death prevails over interest of the state. This is what the Supreme Court has undertaken in this particular judgment. Then again, the NCERT row, where the Supreme Court had called back all the books in circulation of class 8 NCERT, which did say that the Supreme Court, that the judiciary in the country is corrupt. So that had to be taken back, and the 3-member body or organization which undertakes this entire, writing of information in the NCERTs, they were also held responsible for it. That is textbook development team, which includes Michelle Danino, educationist Suparna Divakar, and legal researcher Alok Prasanna Kumar. So these 3 people are part of the textbook development team, which NCERT has held responsible for inclusion of the term corruption for the judiciary in the class 8 NCERT. And the Supreme Court has basically said that they are unhappy with the rewritten chapter, and they've said that the chapter will not be published without the approval of a committee of domain experts. Okay. All right. So here the NCERT has basically said that the Supreme Court has basically asked the government and the states to dissociate with this 3-member team, which is the team textbook development team, and who have called the judiciary a corrupt body in the NCRTs. All right. Then another important one today is that an impeachment motion has been issued against, a notice has been issued against the Chief Election Commissioner Gyanesh Kumar. Now, Chief Election Commissioner Gyanesh Kumar was appointed in the year 2025. And he was appointed on the recommendation of a 3-member committee. This 3-member committee has been formed under the election commissioner and the chief election commissioner, and other election commissioners appointment, condition of service and term of office act 2023. As per this particular act, the a 3-member committee is going to be formed, and this 3-member committee will be inclusive of the prime minister, a union minister and leader of opposition of the Lok Sabha. All right. These 3 members are going to decide who will be the next Chief Election Commissioner of India. Now, the members of the opposition, they have said, they have put allegations against Gyanesh Kumar, that Gyanesh Kumar is also partisan in nature. He is not undertaking free and fair elections in the country. And obviously, major allegations have been put against him on the SIR, or the Special Intensive Revision Exercise. Okay. This article gives us a good detailed information as to how the Chief Election Commission can be impeached in the country. First thing, the term impeachment has nowhere been used in the constitution for the Chief Election Commissioner and election commissioners. Removal is what has been used. The term impeachment in India is only used for the president and no other authority. Please be very clear about it. Okay. Now, the provisions for impeachment have been provided for under Article 324(5) of the Constitution. Article 324(5) says that the Chief Election Commissioner and the election commissioners will be removed on 2 basic grounds, that is proven misbehavior and incapacity. Okay, so proven misbehavior, etc., includes corruption, and incapacity simply implies that the person is not of a sound mind to undertake any such work anymore. All right. So he is naturally on the grounds of proven misbehavior. Now, the article also says that the removal process will be the same as that of the judge of a Supreme Court and a High Court. All right. So the judge of the Supreme Court and High Court are removed by, as per the provisions of Judges Inquiry Act of 1968. Okay. Now, as per this Judges Inquiry Act, there is a simple procedure that is to be followed. The first thing is that a removal motion for the Chief Election Commissioner can be taken up in the Lok Sabha, or it can be taken up in the Rajya Sabha. In case it is taken up in the Lok Sabha, it must be backed by 100 members. In case it is taken up in the Rajya Sabha, it must be backed by 50 members. If it is signed by 100 members in the Lok Sabha or 50 members in the Rajya Sabha, then this will be submitted to the Speaker or the Chairman of the respective houses. Then now it is up to the Speaker or the Chairman to admit the motion or to not admit the motion. If the Speaker or the Chairman, they do not admit the motion, then the motion comes to an end. If they admit the motion, then both of these authorities are going to establish a 3-member committee. Okay. A 3-member committee will be established, and this 3-member committee is going to investigate into whatever charges and allegations have been put against the Chief Election Commissioner or the election commissioners. After this 3-member committee undertakes its investigation, it is going to submit that report to the chairman or the speaker wherever the particular motion has been picked up. Then the motion is going to be put to vote, where at least 2/3 of those present in voting must vote. All right. If the number of votes in favor must be more than 50 members of the 50% of the total members, that is by a simple majority. Okay, if it is more than 50% of the total members present and voting, then the particular person will be said to be impeached by the House. The final report will be presented to the president, and the president will issue a notice saying that so and so person has been impeached. Okay, so the process is absolutely same as that of the Supreme Court and the High Court judges. Okay, then coming to the editorials for today quickly. The first one is a revision of GDP and its implications. Okay, so a new GDP base revision has been undertaken by the government, and the National Statistical Office has released a new GDP series where the previous base year was 2011 to 2012. Now the base year has been revised to 2022-23. What is the GDP? GDP stands for gross domestic product, and it includes the prices of all the final goods and services that are manufactured within the country in one particular year. All right. So previously it was 2011, 2012. Now it has been revised to 2020, 22, 23, and this revision has been done after a gap of 11 years. All right. Now, because after this particular revision, it shows that till now, when we kept on saying that the services sector had the maximum share in the country's GDP, the services sector share is now declining, and higher shares are seen for the agriculture and the manufacturing sector. Okay, so this is one thing that you have to keep in mind. All right, so do go through this article, do remember the revisions, it is important. Then this particular article, a very wonderfully written article by Shashi Tharoor. This basically draws entire inspiration from Montesquieu, who was a philosopher during the French Revolution of 1789. Okay, do remember the years. Sorry. 1789, Montesquieu, and Montesquieu had given an entire philosophy, an entire idea, and this entire idea was known as do commerce. Okay, do commerce, and the basic crux or meaning of do commerce is that right now, talking about 1789, the global world order is marked by personal geopolitical interests. But if we open our markets, if markets are opened, or if we undertake massive globalization, if we make the world a global village, okay, then this personal geopolitical interests will be, overturned by economic interests. Okay, so they said that political interests will be done away with and it will be replaced by economic interests. Okay, now this simply says that when countries, they open their markets to different countries and they are more dependent on import, export of goods, etc. from other and different countries, so they will try to maintain friendly relations amongst each other, because if they don't maintain friendly relations, then it will result in economic vulnerabilities. This particular country who is undertaking a war or non-friendly relations with other countries, then this particular country is going to suffer because of global supply chain glitches. So Montesquieu basically said that once geopolitical interests are overtaken by economic interests of any particular country, then the global order will become very, very peaceful. However, if we see today's scenario where the Iran-Israel war has affected energy resources, global energy supplies globally. Why? Because of globalization. Different countries opened their markets. India opened its market in 1991 through the new economic policy of India, which is also known as LPG policy, liberalization, privatization, and globalization. We opened up our markets to different countries, and now today we are facing energy crisis. Okay, so globalization actually worsened the scenario, and the entire global village agenda is replaced by the law of jungle, where they're actually least bothered. They're only vexed by their own personal geopolitical interests and not concerned about the global supply chain crisis. So very good article, which basically gives you an understanding into this. Then on passive euthanasia, over to the center. This particular article basically talks about that how the Supreme Court has given a verdict on permitting passive euthanasia for Harish Rana, who was in a vegetative state for 13 years. And passive euthanasia simply implies removing of life support to any person who is in a vegetative state and showing absolutely no signs of recovery or improvement. And also the Supreme Court has said that this entire right to to issue guidelines and to form basic criteria as to how passive euthanasia should be administered has been vested in the center, that is in the parliament, and the parliament must undertake such law to bring about effective implementation and administration of passive euthanasia in the country. Also, it says that it has also invoked Article 21 for the same. Okay. Then the sun sets on Britain's Lords. This simply implies that yesterday, the House of Lords, that is the upper house in Britain Parliament, which is equivalent to India's Rajya Sabha. This House of Lords is basically that one house which houses more of aristocrats, nobles, earls, viscounts, and it had become a hereditary house. A hereditary house meaning that fathers pass on to their sons, their sons pass their seat on to their sons. So this hereditary system has come to an end in Britain's House of Lords, and now they will also be working towards establishment of making this particular house also an elected house to basically bring about more diversification, better inputs into legislative procedures. Okay. Okay, then black rain. Just wanted to flag this term black rain. In all the massive bombings of Tehran, the capital of Iran, and other places in Iran that is being undertaken in the country, massive industrial sites, oil sites have been damaged, which has resulted in the release of large amount of sulfur and carbon dioxide and nitrogen dioxide, hydrocarbons in the atmosphere. Recently, there was rain that took place in Tehran, and the droplets that fell off were black in nature because it was highly polluted due to the innumerable amount of gases that were in the atmosphere. So this made the rain come to be known as black rain. It basically has a toxic effect that inhaling or touching the smoke or particles could cause headache, skin irritation, difficulty in breathing. Okay, do go through it. An important article, get an understanding to it. Then this particular article again talks about everything that I've already talked about, that the first verdict was given in 2018 for Aruna Schonborg, and in 2011, sorry, Aruna Schonborg. And in Aruna Schonborg, they did say that she must be assisted to die with dignity under Article 21. Then in 1996, another verdict was given in Jian Kaur versus State of Punjab case of 1996. Assisted dying could be undertaken in terms of passive euthanasia only for people who were actually on critical life support, and feeding otherwise etc. was not considered as life support back then. Okay, now they have given a permitted passive euthanasia for Harish Rana, and it is a welcome step for people who basically have been in a vegetative state and show absolutely no signs of recovery or improvement, invoking Article 21 of the Constitution. As such, we do not have any law for passive euthanasia. However, it is the center or the parliament which has been vested with to make a law or guidelines for the same. Okay. Then this particular article gives us a basic list of procedure that how is passive euthanasia actually administered. So first, the treating physician needs to decide if the patient has any hope of recovery. If no, then a primary board has to assess the case and reach a consensus. This board comprises the treating physicians and 2 subject experts with 5 or more years of experience. The doctors then need to discuss the prognosis with family and whether they want any such treatment. If the doctors and the family decide that the measures should be withdrawn, they need to submit a request to a secondary medical board. The board consists of a doctor, etc., and the board has to take a decision within 42 hours. The hospitals must also inform magistrates to undertake the same. Okay. So do go through it. It's a good article. Then quickly coming to the last bit for today. 12th of March marks the beginning of the Dandi March, also marking the beginning of the civil disobedience movement. The civil disobedience movement actually came into existence with finally disobeying the law of the government, that is by breaking the salt law on 6th of April 1930 when Mahatma Gandhi reached Dandi and picked up salt, violating the salt law. So do keep the date in mind. And Coming to the next one, India's Achilles heel. Just wanted to flag the term Achilles heel for you all. Achilles heel simply implies a weak point. Okay, a weak point or a fault. So this Achilles heel or fault is basically considered as India's too much dependence on international crude oil and gas imports via the Strait of Hormuz. Okay, so this is India's Achilles heel or weak point, that we are so dependent on Iran and the Strait of Hormuz that now that the strait has been blockaded, we are facing such massive energy crisis. Okay, then again, this editorial is not so important. Just wanted to flag for you all that March 8 we had International Women's Day, and also it aligns with the commemoration of United Nations International Year of 2026, which is the International Year for Women Farmers. Okay. All right. Then RSP, that is the Rashtriya Swatantra Party, has received the highest number of votes, which has been said by Nepal Election Commission. Okay. So do go through it. Keep the name of the party in mind. All right. So that was all for today's newspaper analysis. I hope it was absolutely clear, and I'll see you all tomorrow with the next one. Thank you.